I want to thank you again for joining us back here in the career planning track. I'm sure that if you asked any of our speakers today, they'd tell you that they didn't get where they are in their career entirely on their own. There's an old saying about standing on the shoulders of giants, but in security, it's not just the giants that we rely on. We all need advice or guidance, whether it's from someone we know, like a coworker or a manager, or maybe even someone we haven't yet met. It's not always easy to ask for help, but identifying and approaching potential mentors can seem like a particularly tricky dance sometime. Fortunately, our next speaker is here to help. Marie Galloway is the CEO and the founding board member of the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu, a not-for-profit that's dedicated to helping women understand the cybersecurity career opportunities available to them, and then helping to close the gender gap in our field. Her presentation, Will You Mentor Me? How to Ask for Help, is going to help you navigate the mentorship process, which for most of us is one of the strategic keys for long-term professional success. So thanks for speaking us today, Marie.
Hello, and thank you. Let me turn my camera on here. There we go. All right, so hello and welcome. I hope you all are having an awesome day. It is 8 o'clock in the morning here in Las Vegas, so I have not been to any of the presentations yet, but I know it's been some really, really good stuff. So hopefully you're able to take something away from this particular presentation and utilize it daily. So basically what I'm going to talk to you guys today is a little bit about who I am. David mentioned a little bit about what I do, who I am, but there's some other things in there. What is mentorship and kind of what that process looks like and what to look for when you're looking for a mentor. My journey with mentors was kind of just I fell into it. It was never anything formal. It was always one of those organically built relationships with people, with, you know, like Lisa Jiggets, who was the founder of the nonprofit, and Jessica, who's our board president now, and then with Kristen Judge, and just people in the industry that I've looked up to, that I've admired, that are really friendly and really helpful, and, you know, we can go get drinks with and have these conversations. So hopefully you all can take some of this and do the same thing with it. So this is me. I've been in the industry for over 11 years. I started off as a network engineer for a company called Accenture. I think they've changed their name to like Accenture Federal Services now or something like that. Before that, I was in retail. I was an armed security officer. I still teach now as a professor at the University of Maryland. I also own my own business for bookkeeping, cyber consulting. And I love to play with Legos, make wine, do all kinds of things. I've got the Millennium Falcon in the background. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I like to build things, and I use that love for building to help build relationships when it comes to mentoring, to sponsors, to friendships, to volunteering. I try to use that same mentality in all of that stuff. Let's see. So what is mentorship? So we all think that mentorship is, hey, I'm going to ask you to mentor me, and I'm expecting you to just give me all of the information and be good with it. So that's not actually what mentorship is. On a daily basis, I get emails that say, I'm looking for a mentor. And I look at those emails and I just say to myself, okay, what does that mean? I have no clue who you are, what your goals are, what your desires are, what your past looks like. I just know you want a mentor. So one, that doesn't work. So I don't recommend doing that. Two, if you want to continue to build that relationship, you probably shouldn't go in strictly asking for, I need a mentor. Okay. And we'll talk about how to develop some of those tips and techniques later on in the presentation. Something that is really important to understand is mentorship is not a take relationship. You as the mentee can't just say, I want all of your knowledge and I want all of your resources and I want all of whatever it is you're going to give me, and not be willing to give something back. Okay, so mentorship is a two-way street. It's a relationship. It's a let's be friends and let's talk about this career growth. I'm not going to give you advice in the sense of, I did everything this exact way and you need to do everything this exact way. That's not how that's going to work. That's because you as the individual have to drive your own journey, drive, your own career growth with my help. Once I leave, you're still on that path by yourself, right? So I can't give you the advice that worked for me. Like, I did this specific course and I did this specific job and I did this specific whatever, and expect you to do the same thing. I can share those experiences to help you see, okay, maybe if I go down something similar, I should be good, but I'm not going to give you advice in that sense. I'm not going to be your therapist. I'm not trained for that. I'm not getting paid therapy dollars to be your therapist and to hash out, what happened in your childhood that led you to this point. I have my own therapy to go to. I don't have time to to do that, right? Because I'm trying to help you grow and see your future. The other part is for somebody else. Same with coaching. Coaches are paid lots of money to help coach you on specific tasks and things like that. And in our relationship, in our mentorship relationship, it's more about giving back. It's more about helping you see your potential, your value, your worth, and not getting paid for it, right? And I'm not going to pass the torch to you. So if we're working in an organization, I'm the director, you're, the manager. My job as a mentor, I'm not going to be grooming you to become the next director, right? Because I'm not trying to pass the torch to you. I'm not trying to single you out or single select you. What I will do in that instance is help you take the steps necessary to get to that point, if that's where you want to go. Sometimes that's not even where you want to go. So what is mentorship? Like I said, it's a two-way street. It's between two or more people. Mentorship can come in the form of, one-on-one relationships, or can come in group relationships. I'm in a couple of different mentorship programs now, one with our organization. It's we call them Cyberjutsu small tribes, and it's for business leaders, women that have their own business, and we're mentoring each other in like a mastermind type environment. I'm also in a more formal mentor-mentee relationship where I'm a mentor in one group and I'm a mentee in another. And we're sharing information, we're sharing stories, we're helping people figure out how to navigate challenges that they may have had in their current job. It's all about learning. It's always going to be all about learning. Keep that in your mind. It's never going to be, both the mentor and the mentee are learning in this relationship, period. Your mentor is typically going to be somebody that's got more knowledge in a specific area. So I may have a lot of knowledge in cybersecurity and you're looking for a mentor in that area, but you may have a lot of knowledge in growing and building businesses, and that's where I'm looking for information from. So we're both learning from each other. We're both providing value to each other, and the relationship isn't just one-sided. It doesn't matter how old the mentor is. They can be older, they can be younger, they can be the same age. It's just about experience. It's just about wanting to share knowledge, and it's just about wanting to have that relationship with somebody that can help. It's kind of like that ear to kind of guide you along. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I am looking at it so I can see the questions as we go. So feel free to do that. So let's figure out a process to actually finding a mentor. Like I said, I kind of fell into this. Most of my relationships are organic because I believe organic mentorship is much easier, much more fruitful than forced mentorship. Matching works to an extent, but you got to have the personality and they have to mesh and they have to jive. So the very first thing to do when you're looking for a mentor is figure out, why do you want one? What is the reason that you want a mentor? Is it because you're trying to obtain a certain job? Is it because you're trying to go to a certain school? Is it because you're trying to help save the world? Whatever, doesn't matter. Figure out your why and write it down. And this figuring out your why part goes to anything that you want to do in your life. Budgeting, changing, transitioning from cyber to something else, or from something else to cyber, buying a house, anything. What is the reason you want to do this? Okay. Before you go and ask somebody to just be your mentor, you need to lay out your objectives of what you wish to achieve from this relationship. This is very important, right? Because remember at the very beginning, I said people just come into your inbox and say, I need a mentor, but they never lay out why. and what they're trying to accomplish. So I want to mentor because I want to be a CISO and I want to help organizations grow and build their security posture. Okay, so what I expect to get out of this relationship, I want to build my confidence in public speaking. I want to improve my executive presence. I want to know how to go about reaching out to people in that space to get advice and to get, their vision and their views on what those roles look like. All right, cool. I got my stuff listed. Now I got to go to places and find them. My mentors fell out of the sky, I think. I don't know. Being associated with nonprofit work, you can find a lot of folks that are willing to help you and mentor you in that space. So I definitely recommend volunteering and getting involved. But LinkedIn is a really great place. So when I was starting this journey down the CISO path, I went and I looked up who had CISO in their title. And I looked at the skills that they had, and I looked at the groups they were a part of. And I actually connected with a few of them because I wanted to have that conversation. Another great place to find potential mentors is Meetup. So if you're not on meetup.com, I recommend you get on there. There's so much stuff for everything, from making beers and wines to crafting to traveling to tech. You can find something there and you can start to build those relationships with people to start building that organic friendship and start that mentorship process, right? There's also organizations you can join. So for the ladies, there's an organization called Elevate, and they do mentorship. We have our small tribes. That's a form of mentorship. WESIS has a mentorship program that I'm a part of as well. So finding an organization and applying that way is another great way to make that happen. So how do you go about organically finding a mentor-mentee relationship in a virtual conference environment? That's a good one. And honestly, you just have to reach out, right? So we have the Slack for like this particular event, there's Slack. So getting into the Slack and saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm needing, and just putting it out there is really helpful, right? And then somebody will see it and say, hey, this is cool. Or you can look for the people that are in the Slack and find them on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, and start having that conversation with them on those platforms once that event is complete or finished or whatever. It is a little bit harder, but we are going back to in person. So you don't have to really worry about that. I apologize. I clicked something. There we go. Yeah, we're going back to in person, so it'll be a little bit easier to build those relationships virtually. So once you started to find people that have similar backgrounds, interests, all that good stuff, you make the ask. And on the next slide, I'll tell you kind of what to look for when you're making that ask. But you ask, you say, these are my goals for a relationship, and I'd love for us to consider that mentor-mentee relationship. Let's have a conversation, let's talk. They may say no, they may say yes, right? But you at least put the ask out there. You've done the work to this point. Now, if they say yes, you got to be prepared, okay? Because most of the time people will say yes because they have some time. So be prepared to have an agenda at the meetings when you guys are meeting, figure out, okay, what time works best for you, what time works best for them. We meet with our folks. With one group, I meet every other week. With another, I meet once a month. It's just based on what works for you and your mentor. And then listening. It's one thing to say, I want a mentor, and then you get in there and then they talk to you and they tell you these things and you don't listen. It's like, okay, you just wasted people's time. If you don't want your time wasted, make sure that you're listening. If they give you homework, you come back with that homework finished. If there was something that was holding you up between the meetings or you couldn't get that done, you communicate that to them, right? These are super basic steps, but they're super helpful when you're trying to navigate how to find someone, right? Because essentially the mentee is the center of that relationship, which means the mentee has to drive the relationship, right? Some mentors are really good and they'll just constantly bombard you. They'll constantly message you. They'll constantly talk to you. Others may not be, it may not be that way for others, okay? So we just have to be mindful of that and be prepared for those nuances in the relationship. Be prepared for change. Be prepared for, whatever it is that's going to happen, all right? So let's look at things to look for when you're looking for a mentor. So I mentioned on my journey to the CISO role, using LinkedIn to find other CISOs and building a roadmap of my current skills and what skills I think I need to do this particular role. Sans has a great poster for the CISO. I think